Hi, everybody. It's Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing Live, number 134. Holy mackerel. 134 weeks. Today, we're going to talk about how can I tell if my vocal cords are busted? That was a question that I had today, actually, on my YouTube channel. And so I think, it's something that many of us go through. Many of us have that experience where we think maybe something is wrong. And so I want to talk about that today. And we'll talk about different ways to maybe be able to do an assessment of some sort about how our vocal cords are doing. All right, so the anybody who sings for a very long period of time is going to have situations that they're going to experience some kind of a vocal event. And hopefully they're not going to be catastrophic events like a hemorrhage, and we can talk about that, or a nodule that's become, well, a nodule can be hard nodule or a soft nodule, and if they're hard nodules, usually they have to be operated on. So catastrophic event would be, a surgical operation. I think that'd be a catastrophic operation on your vocal cords. And of course, you hope that the outcome is not catastrophic. You hope that the outcome is positive and that you can get back to singing. But we're going to talk today about how can you tell if vocal cords are busted or your vocal cords are busted. Hi, Nuno. Nice to have you here today. Mark Schultz. Nice to have you here, Mark. He said, "Hi, Mr. Chuck. Thanks again for all you do to help us all out. I, too, am a big Simon and Garfunkel fan, but I'll tell you, Buddy Hatfield from..." And that's where it cuts off there, Mark, but maybe there's a way to enlarge that. Is there? Can't tell. No? Anyway. Hey, Paul. Nice to have you join us today. Paul Goins. Great to see you here. I was in a show some years ago. This was probably 11 years ago. And maybe 12, I played Captain Cookeran in HMS Pinafore. And so it was a really fantastic part. We really had a blast doing the show. And wouldn't you know it, I got one of those sore throats that are like every 10, 15, 20-year sore throats. It wasn't just a little sore throat. I was sick. I would rather, and please forgive the analogy, it's not an analogy. I would rather spit than swallow. It hurt so bad that sometimes there was blood coming off of the back of my throat. It was just raw sore throat. It hurt so terribly. And it was affecting my vocal cords. And so I had this show. It was double cast. I was Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I had a counterpart. I had to hit a G or an A flat. I can't remember. I think it maybe was a G, high G on a solo song, and I couldn't vocalize there. It's Monday, the day of my show, and this is what it sounded like. Oh, I've never missed a show in 35, 36, 37 shows, whatever I've been in. I've never missed one of my shows. Never missed a performance. And so this time I did. I had called my counterpart and asked him if he could do the show for me. Fortunately, he could. He was available. And that was Monday. 2 days later, which was my next night, Wednesday night, that day I vocalized and I could hit the G. My throat was still sore. It wasn't quite as bad. It still hurt. And so I took 4 Advil and did the show, because at least I could sing the note. Well, that was a mistake. I was still sick. My throat was still really sore, and I had one, two, like three ensemble numbers and a solo, a pretty good sized solo. And the ensemble numbers a lot of times, well, it was a trio. The one was a trio, and I had a nice good part in that. Another was my verses, and the chorus came in. It's a blast of a show. And then I had a solo, and I think there was one other place where I sang. So it was a busy evening of singing and then speaking all evening. Captain Cochran's on a lot in the show. Well, after I got to the show. After I did the show, and then for several days following, I just, at the bottom of my voice, there was this little scratch. It wasn't a break per se, but I had this scratch in the bottom of my voice on the lower notes, and it persisted for weeks. Finally, I went to an ENT, and he looked at it, and he saw on my vocal cords two bilateral nodules, but they were not on the chord structure. They were on the false chords. He said, that's the first time I've ever seen it. And also he said, you've got some reflux going. So that reflux is not allowing them to heal. So you've got these little nodules on the false chords, and that's causing the lower notes to be distorted. I could still continue to sing because the nodules were not actually on the actual vocal cord itself, but on the false chords, which are just adjacent to the chord structures, to the folds, vocal folds. And so I could continue to sing, but I didn't sing. I don't think I wasn't in a show. I chose not to be in a show until I got it resolved, because I could feel it. I mean, I could feel just instability in the bottom of my voice, particularly. My whole voice felt a little wonky, and so that's my experience with that. Now, it finally resolved over months. I'd say it was 6 months plus before I felt back to normal. So let me take a couple. We got lots of conversations going on here. Emmanuel Zekic, nice to have you here, Emmanuel. Thanks for joining us today. Sue Burt, hi Sue. Just found your videos and love them. Thank you, and thanks for joining me today. Emmanuel says, what do we mean by the word busted? I'm using that word because that's the word that was on my comments in the YouTube. The word busted, maybe somebody's already answered that question, but it basically means damaged, broken in some way. It's not a great choice. It's not a very descriptive word for vocal cords or vocal folds. Usually when you think of the word busted, you think of snapping a, you bust the pencil in two. It's more of almost a slang word in a way, but it means broken, something that's broken. So I asked, that's the question I asked Emmanuel. I asked my commenter, what do you mean by busted? So I wanted to know what was his problem. Let me just check and see if by any chance he has, or she, I think it was a he, has answered this. Maybe he's going to tell me right now. Let me do a quick check and I'll see if I've got more information. I've got lots to talk about, though. We'll talk about all the different things that can happen with the vocal cords when you're singing, and a way to kind of do a self-analysis. Okay, so here's the answer. He said, power to. So I asked him, what do you mean busted? Power to sing. Voice, head voice high notes come out breathy or hoarse for me, even though my guess is my technique is poor. Okay, so in his case, he's asking if his vocal cords are busted, And the problem he's facing is that the high notes either are breathy or hoarse for him, and he's wondering maybe if his technique is poor. So we'll include technique as a part of our conversation here, and maybe that should be the first thing we talk about, is technique. So let me take a couple other comments here from you guys, and then we'll jump into this. It's going to be kind of interesting. Mark Schultz says that the tenor from Righteous Brothers' voice is amazing. Yeah, that falsetto in the fifth octave is amazingly beautiful. Just putting it out there. I'm old school. Mark, I'm with you, man. I don't know if that's what, I can't remember now. I think of a different song. But, okay, Jerome says, hey Chuck, greetings from Jamaica. Nice to hear from you, Jerome. Thanks for joining us today. And so, let's see, who else we got? Hemant, Sunny, hello. Nice to have you here today. Manuel, I'm thinking vocal nodules from long-term straining. So in other words, illnesses that have to do with the vocal cords. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Chuck. How's the Cockney coming? Yeah, for those of you who may not know, I'm in a show right now, and we're in rehearsal this week, and I think it's coming all right. Well, I think it's coming all right. So I guess I could do some of my broadcast with my Cockney. It's random. I feel like every once in a while I should just break into Cockney, and then if I do, you'll know what's going on. I'm playing Alfred Pay Doolittle in My Fair Lady. So I'm the father of Eliza Doolittle, and we're in tech this week. We're Q to Q tonight, dress rehearsals Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday, and then we open on Wednesday. 2 casts, so I get half of those. I get about 3 more rehearsals, and then we open. So I'll get about 3 more rehearsals, and then we open. So, okay, so I'm sorry all my UK friends. I'm sure I'm butchering the pure Cockney. Anyway, Emmanuel, thank you, Mark. Random question: could you hit an A4 real quick? I just want to see something. Ma, 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 ma. Oh, that's the A flat. Ma, 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 ma. There you go. You keen, you yuckin, you keen, you kind. You kind would be the way I would say my character would say it. Liago, nice to have you here from Brazil. I'm struggling with the F sharp 4 and the G4 for 2 months. So, Thiago, it's probably the larynx coming up, and that's really, really hard to sing those notes with the larynx coming up, because it starts to send your voice in. Your larynx goes up and you go into swallowing mode, and it starts to pinch off your voice. Or you have to, or if you're pulling the chest voice too high, then you've got a real challenge. So let me just say right now, Thiago, that you would want to go in the, do you know your vocal type? Are you doing the exercises for your vocal type? If you don't know that, then go in the description below and download the PDF called Get Your Vocal Type, okay? And you can take a vocal test, get your vocal type. It sounds like you're probably pulled chest, high larynx. Watch the videos on pulled chest, high larynx, and then download the free exercises. Start doing those exercises. It's going to help you stop pulling the chest voice. It's going to help you get the larynx down, and your F sharp 4 and the G4 are going to get easier for you. It doesn't matter if you do them for 2 years. If you're approaching it wrong, it's not going to get any better. These exercises will help you. Let me know what's going on and see if maybe you're already working on them, and I can give you some tips that way. Um, okay, so Mark Schultz says, for sure, Emmanuel, hope singing is going well for you, along with the rest of the group. Chuck is a really great guy. He actually said Chick, which is what my girlfriend used to call me in high school. Peter, hi Peter. Peter Wall, if I sang the whole day, I should feel a bit of pressure. Should I feel a bit of pressure in my larynx? I should feel a bit of pressure in my larynx, right? Well, if you were singing the whole day, you might get a little tired. But if we're doing it right, we can go a long a long time without it tiring. And so and also Mark, it kind of or Peter, it kind of depends on how high your notes are and how aggressive the music is and so forth. So as a general rule, I think you shouldn't feel much pressure. It should feel kind of like you sing, or kind of like you speak. The pressure should be about the same. Should be have the same comfort level and the same energy and so forth. Thank you for your Mr. Chuck, for your answer. You're welcome, Emmanuel. Albert, is there a chance that a broken vocal cord can be fixed? Please, I'm from the Philippines. Yes, Albert, it can be fixed. It depends on how broken it is, and we'll talk about that in a second. I need the answer, please. So, Albert, is your cord, what is wrong with your vocal cord? Is it broken, and what do you mean by that? Well, so I can be more specific if I know if you know exactly what it is, or do you not know? Yopadios, hey, nice to have you here today. Albert, nice to have you, Albert. I need an answer. Oh, okay, so hello again. Mark Schultz, Cockney sounds great. So, Mark, are you from the UK by any chance? Pretty sick, Chuck. Congrats. Yeah, thanks. You can. Pretty sick. It's really exciting. It's a great role, really a lot of fun. I get to sing, I'm getting married in the morning, ding dong, the bells are gonna chime. I got to stop or they'll turn off my, somebody will turn off my, I'm getting a phone call like every 10 seconds here. Yeah, you can't, I have to be careful what I do on these live broadcasts because the patent holders, there's patent, they can tell if you're singing some music that's you shouldn't be singing, and they'll just shut the thing right off. It'll just go blank on you. Okay, on the the chick chuck. Right, no worries. Emmanuel says, Chuck, how do you use vocal warm down properly, and how long do you do warm down after singing to practice? So, Emmanuel, I recommend just going to powertosing.com in the search icon on the far right. Put in there vocal exercises. Let me see. I think vocal exercises when you're sick. There should be a download that you can just download exercises and use those. Maybe you've already got them, but they're perfect for vocal warm down as well. And you know what? I would, if I, and I've done that before, particularly where I had a role that was a character role on stage, and it was maybe a little bit, it kind of threw my voice off a little bit. The larynx was up all day or all evening long or something. And so I try and do that, try and do the exercises to get me back to balance. And I'd say 10 or 15 minutes is adequate. I don't think you have to do a long time if you're doing the, effective exercises. So the exercises that I have on my website, you can download them and just type in there, download vocal exercises for when you're sick or something like that. I think you can find it there. Let me get a couple of these out of the way here. And I heard that it's good after the show, and it's a reset vocal cord when you warm up the next day. Yeah, I think definitely warm up or warm down, especially if, like for example, I played the role of Captain Hook, and so I do a lot of pirate voices and things like that. The first time, especially, I did. I played it twice, And I found that I really needed to do a vocal warm down after the show was over because I wasn't always nice to my vocal cords during the show. Mads Franson, hi. On the Albert note, my falsetto has become really tense. Like I really have to push for the higher notes, which is bad. Thiago, is there a way to upload an audio because I don't have a mic in my computer? Well, that's a good question. A lot of people, I think, will send an audio file on their phone. They have a portable phone, and it has a recording mechanism in it, and they can record a message and send to me also. Or borrow somebody's computer that's got a microphone on it. That's a nice, easy way. Trig Assassin, what does compression actually do? Okay, so I'm getting so far off topic here, I'll have to come back to that. Is that a sign of vocal damage or just lack of technique? Probably, man, it seems like Albert, no, my falsettos become really tense. I feel like I really have to push higher notes. It's probably a technique issue, Mads, so let me try and circle back to that in a minute. All right, so I got so many things coming here, guys. We're going to stop for a minute and talk about the topic today. All right? So, first of all, how can you tell if you have vocal damage? And the vocal damage might sound something, well, first of all, for me, as in my story, if I went down low, I had that kind of that fry feeling on the low notes, all right? So I knew that that was something different. So if you have a hold on just a minute here, you guys. I lost my my visual here. There we go. So if you have something change in your voice that's rather remarkable, in other words, it's not a gradual thing. You've had a cold and now you're hoarse or something. That's kind of understandable. But if you're singing in an event and then that night something happens and you feel a difference in your voice, then that's a real strong signal. Or the next day there's something very different in your voice, kind of like my story. So you're comparing what you started out with that day and what you ended with. And if there's something very remarkable that's obvious to you, then you're going to want to, then there's a really strong possibility that there's some damage there, okay? So that's one way to tell if you've got some vocal damage. Now, what might be some things that you notice? I've had students come to me where I've had people come and after listening to them, I can tell that they have nodules, and so a nodule would interrupt the vocal tone. So an easy way to try and determine that. Now, first of all, time out. I am not a physician. My first advice is don't listen to anything I say that's medically related and take it as advice from a doctor. I am not a doctor. The first thing I would do, and the first thing that I did when I realized that there was something wrong, is I went to an ear, nose, and throat doctor, an ENT. I recommend that you go to an ENT who works with singers, or who's a singer himself or herself. I did that the second time. What I was unhappy with the first time was the doctor I went to did not have a way to photograph what he was seeing and give me a copy of it. I regret that. I really wish that I had it in my file so I could even show it to people or show it to you. I don't have a copy of it. If I wanted to get a second opinion, and I did. I asked for a second opinion from a physician in another city down in Los Angeles. He said, "Do you have an image that I can look at?" And I said, "No, I don't have a photograph." He said, "Well, I can't compare it. I can't compare what you had to what you're looking like now." So he said, I really need to see the image. Make sure that when you go see the ENT or when you set the appointment, that they have a video machine that can do a video of the vocal cords working and record that and then take a photograph of that. It's really, I will never do that again. Go to an ENT that can't videotape my vocal cords while they're functioning and then take a snapshot of that. So it gives me a still photo also. So that's a strong recommendation. If you sense that you may have damaged your vocal cords, go see an ENT ASAP. Now let's talk about some of the things that can happen. First of all, or what it might sound like. If you have a nodule, you would be singing along, and I think a nice way to do this is do it on an E. E. And as soon as you hit this spot on their vocal cords, and oftentimes they're bilateral, meaning they're side by side, one on the exact location from the other on the second vocal cord. So they're sitting evenly right across from each other. That's very, very frequent. And so when they come together, you've got these bumps that don't allow the vocal cords to fully close or fully adduct, come together as you're making, as you speak or as you sing. And so you've got an injury. It's like a blister, two blisters on the vocal cords if they're soft. If they're hard, they're like two calluses. But both of them interrupt the ability of the cords to close. So if these are the cords, and you've got, let's just say there's a bump on this one and on this one, and you try and close it, you can't get them all the way closed because they're hitting each other. And so you've got this E, 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 E. You get past it, sometimes you can vocalize. But there's this definite interruption. E, E. Oftentimes it feels as if something's wrong. You almost are it's like you have to back away from that place. Why? Well, have you ever bruised your leg or bruised your quadriceps or bruised your arm or something, and you touch it, or you start to use it and it hurts? It's the same thing with vocal cords. You have an injury, and so you're not likely to be able to, the nervous system isn't going to permit you just to sing through there like there's no problem. The vocal cords have neurons in them. They feed information to the brain that says, I'm injured. And so you can't vocalize in that location because the body is trying to protect the injury. The cords are trying to protect the injury. Now, this is my opinion. This is what as I've talked to people with injuries, a physician may give a better and will likely give a better explanation. Again, please realize that I am not giving you medical advice. My medical advice is go see the ENT as soon as you can. But these are things that may happen before you actually see the doctor. So you have that interruption in the tone quality. I've described the kind of that scratchy, and that's not just scratch that you have because you've got an allergy or it's early morning. It's that it wasn't there the day before and now it is, and you suspect that you shouldn't have taken 4 Advil and sung on a sick voice, right? So that was the other thing. Don't sing sick. Don't do it. It wasn't worth it to me. I should have missed the second show. It wouldn't have been the end of the world. I may have had some fans that were there or were coming to see me that would have been disappointed. But now with social media, just post it on there. I'm sick. I'm not going to be at the show tonight. Please, spread the word. If you're coming to see me, you want to change your tickets or whatever because I'm sick. Don't sing sick because you can double the damage on the voice, and it can cost you months of singing, months of rehab. Okay, so don't sing sick. It sounds like a sound in the interruption of the tone. If you have nodules, also these blisters or calluses, the nodule that's a blister, it can be healed with vocal rest. So someone asking if the vocal cords can recover, yes. But if they're calloused, if there's a callus on the vocal cord, you're probably not going to it's not going to resolve with vocal rest in 2 or 3 weeks. You're probably going to have them removed. That means they're going to have to take a laser or a knife and eliminate, cut out, trim off the problem area. In the case of a laser, I guess it's, I don't know exactly how you would describe it, but I'm guessing it's some kind of a cool, kind of a vapor laser or something. I don't know. But I wouldn't want heat. I wouldn't want them to burn it off of my vocal cord. And is it always successful? No, it's not always successful. Julie Andrews had surgery on her vocal cords, and after she had her surgery, she has not sung again. Could she? I don't know. But her voice didn't feel the same to her, and maybe didn't sound the same, and so I wouldn't say that was successful. Many others have had successful surgeries that they've gone in and had the nodule removed surgically, and with vocal rest come back in months later. Well, let's take a moment right now and say, what about technique? Is technique is kind of a different topic of this, but you can have 15 surgeries, and if you have the same bad technique, you're going to have 16 surgeries and 17. I'm exaggerating. You wouldn't ever probably have that. Your voice wouldn't survive that. But you've got to correct what you're doing wrong in the technique to stop the abuse on the voice, on the vocal folds, to stop the injuries, the repeated injuries. You've got to change. You've got to improve that technique so that you're singing healthily, right? So you're not pulling chest voice up. So you're not screaming. So you're not stretching with the high larynx. And these are things that cause damage. I don't know if we know what the long-term situation is yet, after someone screamed for 10 years or something, and what it's gonna look like in their voices. But there are many people, you guys, and you've all heard names out there. I think of course we know Adele has had hemorrhages, and let's just talk about that for a second. A hemorrhage is a ruptured blood vessel. A hemorrhage is a ruptured blood vessel in one or both of the vocal cords. I don't know. I don't think they're ever bilateral. But I have a friend, an associate who is a teacher, who has a rather high voice. It's much lighter than mine. And between his teaching and his lecturing and other activities as a vocal coach, he had an instance where he actually had a hemorrhage in one of his vocal cords, and it shut him off. He actually had to stop speaking for X number of days or weeks. And in his case, he went to his teacher, who was Seth Riggs, and Seth rehabilitated his voice. He did not need to have surgery, and the vessel, which was had come to the surface of the vocal fold actually receded into the vocal fold through this process. Now that's what you call a case study. So someone should have written this up and submitted it to an industry journal in the ENT, ear, nose, and throat, otorhinolaryngology field of study, just to report, hey, this happened, because it's unusual. It's not a study, but in this case, with this patient and this teacher and these exercises, it resolved. And but that's, from what I understand, rather unusual. If you have a hemorrhage where a blood vessel ruptures in your vocal fold, it usually means surgery. And I think Adela's had a couple of those. I don't know if she's singing right now or not. Do you guys know? Anyway, okay, so now, so we've talked about vocal nodules, which are like blisters, and what causes it. I don't know if that's really the part of the topic here, but we know that it sounds, there's a breathiness, an airiness, or a hoarseness that is a result of the vocal cords not being able to come together firmly or completely. The edges can't adduct cleanly because there's two little bumps that are preventing them from coming together. And so you get an interruption in the tone, or even a little bit of a hoarseness sometimes. Well, definitely hoarseness. They can be caused by yelling. They can be caused by screaming. They can be caused by overuse. They can be caused by poor technique. They can be caused by singing sick. And so, those are probably the main reasons why. Now, there are a lot of artists who have who've had nodules or hemorrhages that have had to have the surgeries, and so it's not an uncommon thing. And so, all right. So we've talked about nodules. We've talked about hard and soft nodules. We've talked about what it sounds like. Again, I wouldn't try. If you have a problem, go see your ENT. Even if you go to the voice teacher and he or she says, as you say, and they say, oh, you've got nodules, go see the doctor. Or if they say, no, you don't have, I think it's okay. If you have any doubt, go see the doctor. It's so relieving to at least know what the problem is. It's a relief to know, even if it's bad diagnosis, at least the unknown, the uncertainty is much worse. So you want to know what it is because you don't want to keep singing. You don't want to keep talking on a damaged, injured vocal cord. Okay? All right. So how to tell if your vocal cords are busted. Now, I've had people wonder about their voice, and we've just gone through some of these exercises. If I said, and remember, scratchiness doesn't necessarily mean you're damaged. It might mean you had a lousy night's rest, like I did last night. For some reason, I couldn't go to sleep. So I got up and read till 2:10. Got back up at 7. So, it's just, you can have bad nights, or maybe you're under, you haven't, you're underhydrated. There's any number of maybe you've got a cold, you've got some allergies. That's not vocal injury. That's just environment. And it will resolve itself. So There are some other things that I'm not qualified to comment on. There's a focal dysphosia, where one side is slightly paralyzed, or there's another kind of, it's not necessarily pathology, but there's another kind of condition where the cord structure, maybe one side is a little lax, the other side is a little tight, and so there are some things that speech pathologists, speech therapists deal with in the ENT's office. So I've had plenty of comments from YouTubers who want to know what do they do if they have different problems like this. And is there something I can do as a teacher? Yes. I can help rehabilitate a voice that's had damage. I can get them in a very good place vocally and work their voices. We work that carefully, and so we can safely help a student come back from their surgery and get back into singing again. I've gotten off track there. I can't exactly remember the point I was going to make. Oh, it's probably this, that there are some things that you just want to get in and see a vocalogist or a vocal speech therapist and work with them in correcting maybe some partial paralysis of the cord structure, or some imbalance in the tension of the core of the vocal folds. That I would say that I can participate and maybe work with a speech therapist in helping rehabilitate a voice, but primarily you want to get in and see those experts, because they're going to videotape it. They're going to videotape it while you're vocalizing. They're going to be able to see how things are going. They'll slow it. They'll be able to do it in slow motion, so to see if one fold is functioning better than the other fold, and those kinds of things. And it's a great exam. I recommend it highly that you go get things checked out. Now, there's some other damages that can occur with the voice, and that the vocal folds might be busted because they've had an acid bath. Acid, yes. The acid reflux can really do a number on your vocal folds. There's just a layer on the outside of the vocal folds called mucosa that helps lubricate the vocal folds, keeps them moist and limber and functioning optimally. But if you have acid from the stomach come up while you're sleeping or even during the day, and that acid sits on the cords, well, you're going to wake up in the morning and be hoarse. Now, that's happened to me, and so I take a pill every night for acid reflux just to help control the intensity of the reflux. I've got a little bit more going right now. There's a time release capsule you can take every day to control it during the day, and I've gotten off of those because I hate taking pills. And frankly, it works okay for my character, who is he regularly imbibes the pub. So it works well for my character to have my voice maybe a little bit rough, but I still don't let my acid reflux get so severe that I'm going to hurt my voice. So that's another thing that can cause permanent damage on the voice. It causes hoarseness and a fuzziness in the sound, and it's because of the acid reflux coming up from the stomach and bathing the vocal folds during the night or even during the day. You may not be aware of it, and that's another reason why to go see the ENT. There's something called LPR, which is laryngopharyngeal reflux, and it's called the silent reflux. You may not even know you have that, and I guess a lot of people have it. Okay. Well, let's see here. So, the fastest, best way to tell if your vocal cords are busted is go see a doctor. If you suspect something, if it doesn't seem too severe or an emergency, you can go see your your voice teacher, and they can take you through some at least I shouldn't speak for others, but I can take you a few through exercises so we can see if there's some issue. But you may know well enough that there was an event in your voice that happened. Don't wait to go see the doctor. Go set an appointment, call, and go see your ENT, your ear, nose, and throat doctor, preferably one who works with singers. And an absolutely requirement is they have a video machine that when they put that little tube down through your nose and down your throat, or a scope into your mouth, the straight scope, they can videotape your vocal cords. They can take a picture of it and give you and review that with you and show you right on the screen. Okay, so hope that answers that question. It's a really interesting topic and something we all go through. So let me back up and answer a couple other. Let me answer questions related to the topic first. Is that sign of vocal damage? Okay, so Emmanuel says, "Thank you, Mr. Chuck, a lot. I think I have that for sure." And I'm guessing you're talking about the acid reflux. Ivan, hi Ivan, nice to have you here today. Start adding milk to the nice cup of tea to feel cup of tea. Yeah, Ivan. Yeah, it's probably safer than to. One of my songs is a man was the Lord above made liquor for temptation to see if man could turn away from sin. And of course, that's my whole thing. Is I live at the pub. My character does. I tend to get a yodel starting at D through EF when I sing softly, but it seems to get better with time. So Ivan, the yodel is and that's disconnect into falsetto, connect into connected tone, disconnect, connect, disconnect. The tone is coming and going in and out from a connection to a disconnection. I don't know if it's that pronounced, but usually if you get the larynx down, you might have to impose it down with a dopey sound and do it on an exercise like gee 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 gee, just to get rid of that. Or on a 5-tone scale if the notes are close together like that, where D, E, F, gee 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 gee, and then do an E with an imposed larynx. Go, 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 go. And see if using that imposed dumb sound, so the larynx goes down. Duh, duh. You can see my Adam's apple drop. Duh, gee. Pulling that larynx down, and with those exercises, even a mum. Mum, 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 mum. I'm kind of doing it stupid. Mum, 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 mum. Duh sound. You can get rid of a lot of the scratch and a lot of, maybe, you'll have to try it, of this yodel feeling. Give that a try and see. Trig Assassin says, what does compression do? Friendly compression is a part of singing. If I don't have adequate compression with my vocal folds, then I can't, then I have more than likely too much air escaping from the voice. And so I get a breathy sound when I speak. And when I sing, ah, 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 and I run out of air fast because I got an air leak. So you have to have adequate compression of the vocal folds when they come together in order to have a balance between the air coming up from the lungs and the vocal cords themselves. So compression allows you to create a tone without that's in a balanced fashion, without too much air escaping. Now, if it's overcompressed, it's maybe a little bit too tight or too much muscle getting involved, too squeezed. And so you've got to find that balance where there's not too much muscle. So I don't want to say, no, 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 no. And I've seen it. No, 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 no. And it's because they're holding on for dear life, because they're afraid that if they don't do it compressed, they're going to crack or break. So it's you've got to develop the confidence in your voice, and so you may have to do some things, some exercises to eliminate overcompression. But what we're really trying to find is this perfect balance. Now, this is a great exercise for it. So you've got to pull your tummy in when you're doing those exercises. That's a great exercise, the tongue trill or the bubble. As long as you're not letting go in the falsetto. You don't want to let go in the falsetto on either of those. Otherwise, the exercise doesn't help you develop a balanced compression. All right, so let me back up here to a couple of these questions that were a little bit off the topic today. And so I hope that helps. Hope that helps you with answering the basic question: can your vocal cords be fixed? And someone asked that. Yes, they can. But the best fix is prevention. Don't sing sick. Don't yell and scream. Give yourself some vocal rest. If you've had to speak all day or sing all day, pace yourself. Get plenty of sleep. Drink lots of fluids, lots of water. Caffeine, as you may know, is a dehydrator, so it can squeeze all your fluids out of you. But you got to make sure that you're hydrated well before you have to sing. You have to maybe lay off the coffee or the Coke. That is Coca-Cola. Now, so let me see here if there are any other questions that didn't get answered. Let me just ask you that, you guys. Is there a question you want me to answer now? Insert it down here at the bottom of this, and I'll address it if I haven't already fixed or answered that question. Thiago, is there a way to upload an audio because I don't have a mic in my computer? You won't be able to with that computer. You'll have to borrow a computer with a microphone or use a cell phone that has a recorder. Mads Franson said on the Albert note, my falsetto has become really tense. I have to really push for the higher notes, which is bad. So Mads, it's likely that the larynx is coming up. If the larynx is coming up, one of the best exercises for this is to do. Sorry, my bubbles get harder when I have a beard. It's this right here that slows them down. So that keeps the larynx down while you practice letting the vibrations going up into your head. So that's just a terrific exercise to try and get that balance back. Then if you want to go to a word, Mads, I don't know whether you're Madsen or whether you're Madeline with an S or what, but if you're a female singer, then you would go higher. That was great for males. That takes you up to the high C. But you want to be able to do it high for the female voice. That's the high G. So I had to kind of pop that up a little bit. It wasn't maybe ideal, but all right. So Trig Assassin says, I've heard compression is used a lot in vocal distortion, but I don't know if that's true. I don't teach distortion, but I would only think that yes, it probably is used. I've seen some guys on YouTube online that it looks to me like they're really, kind of compressed, kind of squeezed a little bit. And as I said, there should be friendly compression, but the friendliness ends when overcompression begins, and then the extrinsic muscles surrounding the throat start squeezing in on it. H3000 says, a bit late here, but is beating your chords bad to strengthen? I'm pushing sometimes to find overtones that make me feel more wear, but at the same time overtones that become more clear. H3000 probably would have to hear what you're doing, but I would say beating your chords is bad. I don't think that we need to beat them. I'm not exactly sure what you mean by beat, but anytime you have to push it too hard is probably not ideal. There are ways to it's fat. Obviously, what you're doing is faster, but it might be not optimal for your vocal health. So I would maybe work on trying to develop a good balance coordination so that you're able to, be able to sing the higher notes without beating the chords. All right, Mads. Hopefully that helps. Thanks, you guys. It's top of the hour. I got to get ready for my students coming here in a few minutes. So thanks for joining me today. I hope this has been helpful, and hope that you've been able to gather some helpful information to help you protect your voice. It's such a valuable thing. My friend that had his injury was just so depressed for a period of time because he was facing the possibility of losing his career as a teacher and speaker and singer, and it's just emotionally very challenging. So you want to get right on it, take care of them in the first place, get your technique corrected so that you don't damage your voice, and then get to see that ENT doctor ASAP if you think there's damage. You will not regret getting a diagnosis, whatever it is, good or bad. At least you'll know what's going on and what you have to do. All right, thanks everybody. I'm Chuck Gilmore.